Hi everyone, and welcome to this Enscape webinar, which is part of Digital Construction Week's online event series that's happening at the moment. I'm excited to be a part of. My name is Gemma Da Silva and I'm your host today. During the next 45 minutes or so, we'll explain what real-time rendering is and how you can use it to explore your designs and model changes from within your BIM authoring tool. We'll also show you how using a real-time rendering tool like Enscape helps not only you and your colleagues, but also your clients and stakeholders to better visualize every aspect of your project. Today we're live, which means you have the opportunity to ask us questions, and we'll have time for Q&A after the presentation. You should see a questions box on your screen, and that's where you can submit your questions throughout the webinar. So speaking with us today is Norbert Grazer and Kai Burrowville. You can see them there on the screen from the Enscape customer services team, who I'm going to hand over to now. They've got a great presentation lined up, so let's dive right in. Norbert, you're up first, so I'm going to hand over to you now. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Gemma. So, hello everybody, and congratulations. You made a good decision to join us today. But how did you come to this decision? What makes you confident to do so? In this case, it doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is that you made a decision to be here with us, and that's fine. So thank you all. Beside this easy decision, you also have to make difficult choices which can have a huge impact on your company, people, and your world, because you are in the building industry. By doing this, you're shaping the future and the habitat for your customers, as well as society, animals, and even plants. So it is perfectly normal to think, research, and debate about the decisions you make every day. But to be honest, sometimes it's just not possible to have all the needed information. And often we just choose the lesser of two evils. Within project management, estimating risks and searching for the right balance between time, money, and quality is the main focus. The growing complexity of buildings, regulations, and customer expectations is making this even more difficult. But there's help at hand. XD BIM is supposed to be the hero that can help. With better insights, clarity, and specific information at the appropriate time, and the 3D digital twin, BIM will help to solve all your problems. But there aren't any superheroes outside the Marvel universe. Sorry. BIM is just a blueprint of a new way or method of working together while planning, constructing, or operating buildings. A guideline for how to use the possibilities of modern technology to facilitate better decisions earlier and faster. Time is money, and money doesn't stink. The main concept that should help making decisions is the BIM execution plan and the level of development model, divided in level of information and level of geometry. I think you all know about that. And maybe you also know that all this BIM is rather theoretical, but reality often looks different, doesn't it? Let's have a look at the level of geometry or graphical information in a BIM model. Why do we need this? Why did we need all these sketches, blueprints, 3D models, metadata, BIM coordination, VR or AR? Because everyone needs a fair understanding of the project, questions he should answer or decisions he must make. And we ask others to make choices based on our decisions. In some cases, sketches and 2D plans are not enough to understand the building, the question, or the possible solution. Sometimes even a static 3D model is not enough to be able to understand and build the required confidence. Psychologists say that the recognition of objects, forms, and rooms is a private exploration with all senses. And everybody is exploring spaces or rooms, that is to say, buildings or parts of it, differently. Not everybody has the ability to imagine the finished building or part by looking at given floor plans or 3D perspectives. And even experienced architects love to see, touch, and interactively explore real buildings or samples of parts. It's a different game when you can physically move around, turn from left to right, look behind, feel the surface, following lights and shadows. A shaded 3D model can't provide you that confidence. And isn't confidence a key aspect within communication, collaboration, and making decisions? So how to build or increase confidence with your customers, stakeholders, colleagues, or yourself? For example, by extending the ability to explore the building, the part, the detail, with real-time experiences on your screen, a VR headset, or your mobile device. Some industries are already moving energetically into this direction. But our management triangle of time, money, and quality looks a bit different. And so we just can't use these fancy gadgets. But it would definitely help to get a better understanding, build confidence, and make better decisions faster. So let's Enscape and look at some possibilities of how to make projects more tangible before they actually exist, without spending thousands of pounds or dollars for external CGI specialists or additional hardware. Enscape empowers and inspires the digital AECO community and helps architects, engineers, and customers to understand the constructability of their concepts, validate their ideas, and communicate their intent. Our mission is to deliver accessible everyday workflow tools to transform building models into immersive, real-time experiences. And it's not only for high-end renderings, but it's also an extension of your BIM authoring tool that gives you the ability to explore your 3D model interactively at any stage and any time with just one click. Perhaps this slogan from George Eastman inspired some entrepreneurs in Karlsruhe, Germany, some years ago to start their Enscape journey. Besides studying architecture, they also love to play interactive 3D games. And they dreamed of running through their designs by pressing just one button. And here you can see how version 3.0 of Enscape plugin for your design application looks like at this point of its journey. Within 6 years, many users have pressed the button, and a lot of decisions have been influenced by immersive exploration, renderings, flythroughs, and shared QR codes. Before we have a deeper look into Enscape, let's talk a bit about workflows. I know it's another buzzword, but it's important. Enscape did not invent anything new. Like George Eastman 140 years ago, we want technology to be easy usable and fast enough for day-to-day usage. If you don't know the story of George Eastman, it's interesting, so please Google it. But let me give you the short version. When George was dreaming of his trip to Santo Domingo and the photos he wants to take there, he didn't like the circumstances of carrying all the stuff needed around and the complex workflow of preparation and developing. He began searching for a more easy process to take and develop photos while traveling. Finally, this all leads to a company known as Kodak. And George changed the way photos are taken forever through this change of workflow. And like taking photographs 140 years ago, today's design process is fractured. Producing renderings, flythroughs, and preparation for VR is a bit like taking photos in the pre-Kodak time. You need tools that are made for experts. Most of them aren't intuitive, and learning curves are long and flat. Changing the model leads to a lot of rework, and rendering times are long. That's why you always must decide if a rendering or an immersive exploration is really needed. But exploring, explaining, and presenting are key factors in the process of decision making. So we integrated a plugin for real-time rendering and visualization directly into your CAD and BIM applications, streamlining workflows that provide you that immersive one-click experience at any time without leaving your design application. A bit like taking a selfie with your mobile device. Okay, let's have a deeper look into some use cases and why we believe this can be a game changer for the way you work and collaborate today or tomorrow. But first, let's see how immersive exploration with Enscape can look like. As mentioned before, it's really just one click to open the Enscape window and to switch into this immersive 3D world where you just can move around like standing in the real building. It's really like walking through it, looking beside, looking behind, and just get the feeling of how things interact and how it will look like. And by going through the building, you always have the possibility to select objects and look at their BIM metadata that is provided by your BIM application and can be shown in the Enscape window at the same time. And as you see, there are all the informations that are provided. So for instance, you can have a look for what kind of material is used, what system classification is used, this system name, and all the other informations that you or your colleagues put into the BIM model. And isn't it more natural to just walking through it? And isn't it a bit like on the real construction side to do it that way by walking or flying through the building, looking for the issues your colleagues provided you? And this can be done with our issue tracking tool. You can just easily navigate through them. You can change the state. You can also provide your own issues and start a discussion with colleagues by exchanging this information. And to exchange these informations, we are using the BCF standard. So you are able to import and export BCF zip files to collaborate with your colleagues in the appropriate collaboration software that you are using in your BIM project. Yeah, and that's just one sample of how to use that in an MVP environment in that sample, but you also can use it for any other issues or any other discussions with colleagues or customers over collaboration tools. Yes, so by switching to the next use case, I hand over to my colleague Kai, who will explore you a bit more about VR and rendering within Enscape.
Thank you, Norbert. Yes, exactly. So in the next slide, we're going to have a look at virtual reality and how you can seamlessly use it to explore your model. So yeah, great. So here you see a recording of me this morning where I just simulated a usual use case. VR with Enscape is terribly simple and easy to access. I literally just click the button in the upper right corner to enable VR, and I can start exploring the project right away, just putting on my VR goggles there. And yeah, there's multiple ways how you can explore the model. You can teleport yourself, which is great to reduce, nausea and yeah, movement sickness, and really the depth, the scale of what you see is absolutely realistic. And by the way, you just see 1 or 2 frames right now, which is due to GoToWebinar. Of course, this runs fluent in a live environment. And yeah, I'm just jumping around the model, changing the datetime from within VR so I can get a feeling for what it's going to look like during the different stages of the day. I am going to do some renderings from within the VR environment itself, which means I can just enable a little snapshot camera by clicking this render image button here, and just hold it like an actual camera in VR, do the rendering. This is the result, by the way, and continue exploring the scene, changing through different daytimes, and really be free in exploring the model. Something that we don't see in this presentation is if there was someone else controlling Revit or whatever design application you're using at the same time. If there were any changes made to that model, we would see those update right away as well. So yeah, literally, as you can see here, virtual reality is an additional layer on top of the existing Enscape functionality that allows you to really roam the project and yeah, explore it without any borders and really get a glimpse of what it's going to feel like being in the actually finished building at different times of day. In this case, by the way, we chose to use the white mode in Enscape to visualize an early stage of the design. Of course, materials are being supported in virtual reality as well. Yeah, and this is really meant to show how easily you can access and explore the model in virtual reality. All right, we'll move on with some more ways of beautifying and sharing a beautiful project. In this case, in this slide, I want to highlight not just how easy it is to set up and play with materials, but also that there is perfect interaction between the design application, be it Revit or SketchUp, Rhino, Archicad, or Vectorworks, and Enscape itself. So we are just editing this existing material in the Revit environment. I can, for example, change the color if I want to see it, with a slightly different color with the Revit image fade function there. Or if I want to, I can also go into my glossiness map that I have set up here, reduce it, which will increase the brightness because I've inverted it. And that means we will have a glossier material right away. We can go down here, enable some tint, darken it a little bit to have the impression of different type of wood. Or we can, of course, remove everything and reduce the material to its most basic function. So yeah, this is really to highlight how seamless the interaction between Revit and Enscape works. And also, if I wanted to go with one of the predefined materials in Revit, I could do that as well by simply going to the appearance library here, picking any random one. And this will also highlight not just the default material type in Revit is being supported. In this case, we're going to use one of the type wood. And as you see, this works with Enscape right away as well. So the whole principle of Enscape really is you can continue working like you did, like you used to. And Enscape doesn't doesn't put up any walls or borders for you. It supports you in your existing workflows. So yeah, we're just literally playing around with this material a bit. Of course, you can also set up your own materials using textures from the internet, etc. And also maybe a little bit of a preview with Enscape 3.1. We're also going to release a material editor for Revit, like the ones we already have for the other design applications, that just sits on top of the existing material system. So we're not taking any options away from you. We're just supporting you in your existing workflows. Okay, let's have a look at the next slide, which will cover rendering still images, taking pictures. So yeah, I just want to showcase a default workflow like I use it for most of my still images for rendering. First of all, of course, I'm looking for a nice perspective to do the image. That's the most important point. Secondly, I'm changing the daytime here. That's also a core principle of beautiful imagery. Make the light play an interesting role in your image, in the story that you're telling here. Any image can easily look a little blank if the lighting is flat. So I'm doing that. I pressed the render image button in the upper left corner to render the image. And as you see, Enscape is generating a default full HD image, as we see here, in absolutely no time. So to put this to a little bit of a test, I dialed it up to 4K. If any one of you has been rendering with a different software, you can imagine, or you might remember, rendering in Ultra HD in 4K can easily take hours with other softwares. In this case, we're just going once again through some settings here in the visual settings. All of these are optional. Enscape is really made to look ideal out of the box, but we can play around with the settings to find the one look that we want to express. And once again, hitting the render button, this time, once again, in 4K, something that would easily take hours with other softwares. In Enscape, it takes about 10 seconds. So really, one of the major benefits here, everything is easy to access, straight away to use, and lightning fast. So yeah, that shows how to render an image. Because it was so fast, I want to go through it one more time. So just those easy steps, even if we're going through a wall here. First of all, find the right perspective. That's a major step. Also play around with the field of view setting in the visual settings, because that will allow you to enable some kind of a fisheye lens or zoom in. That's really a crucial factor when finding the perspective. Playing around with the sunlight here, we can follow the natural light angle, the natural sun path, or we can break the sun trajectory and use, for example, Control U and I or Shift U and I on the keyboard. Or you can also review those controls by pressing the H key in Enscape, and that way we can move it to the position we want it to be. Adding some depth of field here to get this DSLR camera effect, like Norbert mentioned earlier. Kodak or classical imagery was a huge inspiration for us, and now exporting this in 4K. So it's those, 4 steps? Finding the right perspective, make sure the light plays an interesting role, set up the settings that you want to go with, and then just press the render button, and here is our finished result. Very, very quickly and very, very non-complex. All right, but that's not the only way how you can share your Enscape experiences. You can also, for example, create video fly-throughs. Once again, in great quality and in little to no time. Once again, I've just showed a simplified or a general workflow for that. First of all, I'm pressing the V key to open the video editor. And the first thing I do is setting up a camera path by pressing the K key. This will create a keyframe, a video camera, as we see them on the left side. And as you see, Enscape will connect those keyframes, those video cameras, automatically with a camera path. And I'm literally just flying through the Enscape scene and looking for nice perspectives that I want to share in my video, that I want to be contained in my video. Turning around here, this is a beautiful interior space, so I really want to highlight it. I really want to emphasize it, so we're going to slow down here later on. I misplaced this one camera, so I clicked on the camera again, pressing update to update the perspective, and continue to set up our path. I'm going to fly out here and end in a bird's eye shot. We're later on going to change the speed here as well, the pace of the video. So we're moving slow through the parts that I want to highlight and fast on this long path. Here we see we're hitting a tree. So I'm placing another keyframe on the camera path by simply clicking on it and adjusting the camera path. Now I just checked just by eyeballing it if everything looks all right, if I'm not hitting a wall anywhere. And now I'm going to add a timestamp on the left side. This is where you can key certain attributes per camera. So the keyframe, the timestamp that we see there literally tells Enscape, reach this camera at second, whatever I put here. So before we just saved the timestamp that was existing because I liked the first pace. Then I sped it up, so I dialed the time down. Now I'm dialing it further up, so I'm slowing down the area we are, or the way through our living room here. And lastly, I'm also going to dial down the number in my last keyframe here, or my second to last, and pressing P or this play button in the lower left corner to preview my path and get a feel for the speed and for the aesthetics of the whole video fly through. So yeah, I think that's all right. So we're going to add one last step, a time lapse. So once again, I'm clicking on the first keyframe in row, set up the time of day, 8 a.m., which I think is nice, and go to the last keyframe, change the daytime to something different, like 6 a.m. In this case, the sun isn't on its natural trajectory since I broke it earlier, so we have a little bit of weird time there. But as you see, we now have shadows moving, the sky is changing, we get a different feel throughout the video, so I like that. And I'm going to click export in the lower right corner, choose a resolution, full HD in this case. Once again, this is something that could take days with other software. In this case, we're going to be done. I think it took like 10 minutes in total for this particular video. So we're going to speed it up a little bit. But you see, it's a very natural and very, very fast pace. We're exporting this high quality video. We are going to share the actual video with you, by the way. So you see, we have a low frame rate still, as I mentioned earlier. We have this uploaded to YouTube, so you can have a look at the actual result. I can tell you it's perfectly smooth. So this doesn't do it really, or this is not really representing it, but yeah, you can of course create these videos in a perfectly smooth and high quality and share them with anybody right away via YouTube or put them on your website. And you see we are moving fast where I wanted to move fast, and then slowing down to really highlight these beautiful portions of the video to spark the imagination of our viewers and let them imagine what it feels like to maybe live in there in the future. So yeah, and that is a video done in about 10, maybe 15 minutes total. And you can do that too. So let's have a look at even more ways to share your Enscape experience, namely 360-degree panoramas and web standalones. So first of all, we can create a 360-degree environment panorama by clicking the button in the upper left corner. Once again, with Enscape, it's just the press of a button. We can create two kinds of panoramas: mono panoramas to be viewed on a monitor, tablet, computer, mobile phone, doesn't matter. Stereo panoramas for mobile VR experiences like Google Cardboard or Samsung Gear VR. Both of these are just the click of a button. So I skip this process a little bit. Of course, it takes a couple of minutes to create that high quality rendering. And once you press that button, by the way, the camera will simply rotate in place and create a panorama from there. To access these panoramas, we open the Manage Uploads window in your design application interface, and we can upload the panorama by pressing this button here, and we'll get a QR code, which we can share. You can scan it right away if you want to, but we're going to show it to you earlier too, so no hurry here. If you scan it or if you click the link that you get, this is what will happen. This is your browser. So in this case, it's Chrome, I believe, that is opened, and we can review this 360 panorama on any device that supports this browser right away. So since we've uploaded this to the Enscape cloud as well, we can share it in a matter of seconds with anybody on the planet. Now, by the way, I've created a web standalone. That's the button right next to it. And it's the same principle. We get a link. It gets stored on the Enscape servers, and you can open it in the browser right away. This web standalone doesn't have the same system requirements as Enscape, so that's great because you can share it with people that are just running on Intel graphics cards, for example, but they can still explore the model, change the datetime, have a look at everything in detail in their own pace. You can, go on a call with them, and they can give you their impressions, even to the lighting and night scene, for example. All right, but that's, you guessed it, that's not the only way how you can share your Enscape experience. There's still a few left. So let's first wait for a couple seconds if anybody wants to have a look at this very panorama that I've created there by getting out their mobile phones, scanning this QR code. You can do so now. And we can move on. Lastly, we want to have a look at the exe executables. So you can not just share a web standalone with others. You can actually create a perfect copy of your Enscape experience. Once again, the step there is really simple. You press the button in the Enscape user interface that you see in the upper left corner, the exe button. Choose a place where to save it, hit enter, and Enscape will create your standalone automatically. Not depicted here is the fact that you can also customize those. You can choose your own icon, you can choose an interface overlay, your own loading screen, etc., etc. What is depicted here is that you can now pretty much do in these standalones whatever you can do in Enscape. And however, except for changing the project, of course, because it's no longer connected to your design application. But as you see, the quality is identical. We can change the datetime if we want to. We can cycle through different types of display. Yeah, let's put this in full screen. So this is the standalone now. This is the copy. And for example, we can even enable virtual reality in this standalone as well. So imagine that. You can create full-fledged, high-quality virtual reality experiences to share with anybody, upload it on your website if you want to, with just 2 clicks from your professional design application project to one self-contained file that you can share with anybody. If you want to use this standalone for lighting analysis, for example, you can do that too. We have this rendering style here where you see a scale at the top border of the window. You see how much lux is falling onto each place, onto each pixel, so to say. And if you wanted to combine this with any of the settings before of the export functionalities, like if you want to create a video in this lighting analysis view, you can do that. If you want to create a panorama or a virtual reality experience, all of that is perfectly possible. So once again, you see all of the facets of Enscape are modular, they're easy to understand, easy to use, and combinable, and really designed to be as useful as possible to support your existing workflows. All right. And I think that was the last slide. How is that, Norbert? Yes.
Yes, you're right. So, wow, wasn't it awesome? You can walk and fly through your building in real time by just starting Enscape from within your CAD or BIM application. Change style and material and get direct feedback in your Enscape window, producing high quality renderings in only a couple of seconds. Besides that, you can use Enscape to get confidence within your model, work with BIM information and BCF annotations to collaborate within your team or with other stakeholders. And when you like what you've seen here in the last 37 minutes, and you want to see more of that, you just can go to our website and go for the 14-day trial version of Enscape and try that one-click feeling for yourself. You can explore our sample projects or utilize your own ones. And for a fast and safe journey, take a look at the tutorial videos or book an appointment for an individual online meeting. We decided we want to be there for you. And our vision is to make the building environment more tangible before it exists. So now we have some time for questions from your side. You can use the chat function within GoToWebinar. You will find a speech bubble in the upper right to activate if the chat panel isn't already to be seen. And besides that, I want to share a customer quote we got recently from Gavin, and how he liked to start with Enscape. And I have, again, the QR code for everybody who hasn't enough time to try it out within the presentation.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Norbert. Thank you, Kai. Hope everyone enjoyed that presentation and a glimpse into real-time rendering and how Enscape works. We do have time for Q&A, and we have had a few questions come through already, which is great. But if anyone else has a question, please feel free to pop it into the questions pane, and we'll do our best to answer it before we leave today. All right, so let's see what we have first. Okay, we've got one question here. Can we change the material in Enscape if required while using Revit?
So I can answer that. Any changes, and that's one of the core principles of Enscape, of course, any changes to the project are being done in the design application. This is meant to have everything neatly stored on one site, and you know, not get into or not get tangled up in different workflows per design application. The one thing that you can do from the Enscape side on is create views into the design application. But you have to change the materials in your design software.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kai. And there are a couple of questions that came in around VR headsets, and if you have any recommendations on the best ones to use with Enscape.
So all of them are supported equally well. So let's be more precise. Oculus Rift and Steam VR based headsets are equally well supported. That includes, of course, Oculus Rift, Rift S, the HTC Vive, and also Windows Mixed Reality headsets. So it's really up to you, more or less. The one thing that I used to say is if you're taking your headset, if you're planning to take the headset on the road to customers or something like that, I recommend to go for an Oculus Rift S, because in my opinion, that is the best and most comfortable to set up a headset. If you're planning to build a stationary in-house VR cave, something like that, you can also look into an HTC Vive Pro, whichever model you like. Those give you a little more freedom of movement, but they're a little harder to set up, so I wouldn't recommend to take those on the road. I hope that helps.
That was really cool, thank you. And following up on that, actually, so you mentioned when people are using VR in a room all together, and a few people have been asking about this. So a multi-user experience, is that possible in Enscape, and how would you set something like that?
So first of all, multi-user experience on one machine isn't possible at all, to my knowledge, at least not yet, because we are just at the edge of being able to provide this high frame rate and this computational power to enable VR on one machine. So you would need multiple machines. You could say that it is possible to have a shared multi-user experience in VR by creating EXE standalones from the same project, sharing them with any number of users in your team, and then get on a call using any external software, for example. But there is no multi-user mode in Enscape where you would see avatars of others. You're always the one VR user in Enscape. But again, since it's so easy to share it, you can absolutely manage something in that direction. You won't see the others, but you can speak naturally to each other.
Brilliant, thank you. No, but there's a question here that I think you'll be able to answer. You mentioned sample projects are available on the Enscape website. Someone was just asking if we have any available for SketchUp.
Yeah, for sure. There is also SketchUp samples on our website. At the moment, yes, it's a bit hard to find. You have to scroll down to the lower part, and there you will find a link to the sample videos. And there are sample videos for all the different CAD and BIM applications we are providing.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Someone has asked if they can add artificial lighting into Enscape.
Yeah, for sure, you can do so. So besides, we have seen a lot of playing around with the sun and what's possible with sunlight. You also can use artificial lighting within Enscape for some programs. We provide artificial lighting because it's not included in the software itself, and you can play with like all different kind of lightnings, and you even can use IES files to use like producer-based real light distribution that you get with this like web file, this IES files.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. We've had a question here about our educational license. Could we use it for teaching in the university lab? Yes, you can. We've actually recently changed our educational licenses, and now they're available for 24 months and for students and the classroom as well. We're about to relaunch a new education website, hopefully in the next week or so. So we will be informing people about that. So keep an eye on the Enscape educational page. But yes, you can use educational licenses for Enscape in the university. Let's have a look here. What else do we have? A question around collaborative annotation. So when using issue tracking in Enscape, is this within a collaborative model? Can others contribute and highlight clashes in the same space but at different times?
So at the moment, not at the moment, there is now a collaboration between different users inside of Enscape. So it's really sticking to the one author that runs the design software on his machine, but you have the ability to exchange BCF zip files within Teams so that you can load the issues from someone else, run through them, work on them, and then you have to export them. So there is no like live collaboration at the moment.
Can I add something to that? So the collaborative annotations are being stored in your design application project file by default. So whenever you hit save, they are contained in that file. And when someone else opens that file with Enscape, they can review those collaborative annotations as well. So if you happen to be working on a shared server, for example, on one file, on one Revit, SketchUp, whatever file at the same time, and you have set up some collaborative annotations, you hit save, other people will get those collaborative annotations right away. So you could use that for collaboration, for real-time collaboration.
And we also sync up with BIMtrack as well, don't we? So
that as well,
could be another option. Fantastic. If if people were to Google that then you would come across a blog post actually that we released when we launched collaborative annotation. So that will give you some more information. Kai, you were talking about creating a video in Enscape earlier on. Someone here has asked about video speed and whether it's possible to keep the video speed universal throughout. So they're saying, if I change one camera's speed, do all the other cameras' timings get adjusted?
So if you change one camera speed, to recap, that is the timestamp value per camera. If you change just one, Enscape will actually maintain an equal speed throughout the video. If you change two, or if you key two, it will change throughout the video. So if you want to have an equal speed throughout the video, I would recommend to keep your hands off of the timestamp variable option entirely and just go with the video duration setting that you can set in the video editor on the left side. Yeah, that's what that is made for. So that will change the video duration without changing the pace throughout the video individually.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Another question here. Does Enscape only work with Revit?
No, it works with different applications as mentioned before, it's working with SketchUp and with Archicad, and at least we also bring it to Vectorworks, and it's supporting Rhino.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Well, those are all the questions answered, so thank you everyone who submitted those. I think as we have got through everything, we can wrap things up, but Kai and Norbert, just want to thank you again for taking us through everything today and showing us how Enscape works, and I hope everyone enjoyed the last 45 minutes learning a little bit about the benefits of real-time rendering and Enscape as well. Before you leave us, there will be a short survey that will pop up on your screen once you exit the webinar, so you can provide us with your feedback on today's session. Love to hear that. And I'd also like to mention that you'll receive a link to the recording via email as soon as it's available as well. And within that email, I'll pop in a few extra useful links, including a free 14-day trial that we mentioned as well today for those of you who are not yet using Enscape, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks once again for joining us, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you on another webinar soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gemma.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Have a nice evening.